Invite viewers to post their location and local time. It's always fun to see the map of where we all gather from. Now picture him rolling back into the land of his childhood after decades away. April air damp with thaw moss greening on cedar trunks, the creek bubbling like an old friend clearing its throat. 18 acres of forest and a house built plank by his father's hands. After years boxed in by city noise and HOA newsletters taped to his door like ransom notes, this place feels like stepping back into sanity. He patches fences, traces, deer trails, and digs out stone markers his dad once placed along the southern boundary. Those markers are his compass, his anchor. He keeps the original survey in a waterproof binder tucked next to tools. No HOA, no dues, no committees, just land clean and certain, or so he thinks. The first sign something's off is subtle a bench. Cheap cedar barely settled in the soil 20 yards from the creek. He shrugs, assuming teenagers may be hikers. But by week 2, the bench sprouts friends, fairy lights zip-tied to saplings, a fire pit cobbled from cinder blocks. That's when curiosity turns into unease. By week 3, it's a full-blown campground canopy, folding chairs, a hammock strung proud like a pirate's flag. Historians still argue whether boundary disputes begin with malice or ignorance. In his case, it's entitlement wrapped in a salmon pink vest. On his ATV dogs, Blade and Pepper pacing beside him, he finds her Karen Westbrook, Crescent Pines, HOA president, clipboard queen serving lemonade like she's Queen of Versailles. She greets him with plastic charm, calls the place our monthly Creekside Sunday. He answers calm but firm, "This is my land." She laughs, says it's communal, her husband built a bench here back in '08. He points out the property line, the deed, the survey. She scoffs about playing mountain man. He ignores the jab and sets a deadline clear out by next weekend. Her allies mutter about prescriptive easements as if time magically rewrites deeds. He locks eyes and reminds them he's a retired surveyor. Easement law isn't folklore, it's statute. Their smiles crack, but they retreat with threats of county offices and community spirit. He plants orange survey flags across the creek line, digs out aerial photos showing bare woods until last spring, and stitches together trail cam footage of HOA members hauling lumber across his fence line, one even pausing for a crude mark of disrespect. That thumb drive becomes Exhibit A. By Tuesday, he's filed a notarized notice demanding removal. 7 days, no excuses. He mails it, emails it, even attaches maps and photos. The reply, silence. By Sunday, he's done waiting. A demolition crew sweeps in like a storm. By noon, every board block and tiki torch is gone, stacked neatly on the HOA's clubhouse driveway, with a copy of the notice taped on top. He plants thorny shrubs where their canopy once stood, hangs a bright red sign warning trespassers, not for drama, just defense. They wanted to test him. Instead, they struck granite. He thinks the storm has passed, but storms rarely take hints. The morning after demolition, Karen barrels out of the tree line, voice sharp enough to peel paint. She screams about destroyed HOA property, phone raised like a holy relic. He doesn't flinch, just sips his coffee and reminds her she's trespassing again. She waves her phone, threatens attorneys, spits out lines about community land. He scrolls calmly to a county PDF map, offers to highlight her location in real time. She slaps the phone away. Historians still argue whether anger fuels blindness or the other way around, but Karen proves it's both. Days later, a courier drops a lawsuit on his porch. The HOA claims $50,000 in damages for vandalism and emotional distress. Their evidence: a cartoonish map shaded in crayon green, more like a kindergarten project than a legal exhibit. He laughs, uploads his own video instead. When your HOA tries to steal your land, just him, his dogs, the creek, and a binder of surveys. Calm tone trail cam footage aerials. It goes viral, 200,000 views in 3 days. Reddit shares it, local news calls. Karen panics, tries to ambush him mid-interview, screeching about tradition. Cameras catch it all, her shrill hymn steady deed in hand. That night, an anonymous email arrives. A Crescent Pines board member admits not everyone agreed. Karen never even put it to a vote. He and his attorney, Monica Alvarez, sees the crack. They file a countersuit, trespass, harassment, defamation, and attempted property fraud. Monica drops the HOA complaint on the table like bad fish, strategic garbage, she calls it. Together, they plan a response sharper than barbed wire. They demand meeting minutes, construction authorizations, and voting records. When the HOA refuses, Monica files discovery. Meanwhile, he arms himself with more than paperwork. Motion sensor lights glow like fireflies, trail cams beam footage to a site he cheekily names notmybackyard.com. He even dumps salvaged canopy poles at the HOA clubhouse with a polite note, "Thought you might want these back." Their response, dog mess on his driveway caught in 4K by his cameras. A childish move, but telling. Court day smells like glue and nerves. He shows up crisp in boots and button-up binder labeled Evidence CPHA Land Dispute. Karen arrives late, lawyer Stuart Burrows in tow, a man who looks more spray-tanned than seasoned. She's in a red blazer, smug as brunch royalty. They argue cultural landmarks and long-standing community use present the same fake map and blurry cookout photos. The judge barely hides his skepticism. Monica counters with certified surveys, 5 years of aerials, GPS data trail cam clips with audio, and his notarized letter. The silence afterward feels like the pause before a verdict in a movie courtroom. The judge delays ruling, demands calm from both sides. Karen pretends to hold her crown outside, whispering to reporters about outsider aggression. He, on the other hand, stands steady and quips, "Bullies rarely admit trespassing until the law drags them off the porch." Inside, the HOA fractures deepen. Another anonymous email leaks internal chatter. Karen pressured them, drafted the fake map herself, planned the retreat with a note reading, "Most of these old guys roll over anyway. The iceberg has been spotted. Her Titanic keeps sailing." 2 weeks later, the courthouse feels heavier, as if walls already know what's about to happen. Karen strides in with chin-high, red folder clutched like a talisman. Stewart sweats bullets beside her. The judge wastes no time. He demands the origin of the community recreation map. Karen dodges, calls it cultural usage. He cuts her off, asks directly, "Did you add the shaded zone manually?" She hesitates, squirms, then mutters the word, "Yes." Silence thickens like wet cement. Historians still argue whether hubris collapses in a whisper or a roar. Today, it's both. Monica lays down fresh evidence-leaked emails where Karen admits she never had a vote, never had rights, just hoped to deal with complaints later. There's also the draft retreat plan with her notes about building first, asking forgiveness never. A licensed surveyor testifies GPS projections flash across a screen and aerials show the truth in decade-long clarity. Finally, an affidavit from a board member confirms she strong-armed them into silence. By the end, Karen looks less like a president and more like a statue melting under courthouse fluorescence. The judge exhales like a man finishing a long, bitter book. He rules in his favor completely. Karen trespassed, built illegally forged maps, and misrepresented facts in public forums. His demolition lawful. His evidence exhaustive and correct. He awards the countersuit in full and refers Karen for possible criminal charges. Falsification, trespassing, maybe perjury. Cameras wait outside. Karen bolts through them like a fallen idol chased by lightning. Stewart trails after muttering excuses. Back on his porch, rye glass in hand, he reads apology emails from neighbors. They admit Karen fooled them, thank him for standing firm. A month later, her house goes up for sale, staged to the rafters, still unsold. Crescent Pines falters board resignations audits, even whispers of dissolving the HOA. He doesn't gloat, he just finishes fencing his land, 8-foot posts and motion detectors, creekside, peaceful again. Now the retreat is nothing but a quiet patch of ground, a small wooden sign marking it, private land. No HOA nonsense allowed. Sometimes he sits there with Blade and Pepper Creek rolling by air clearer than any HOA newsletter could dream of. They tried to make him the villain. Instead, they reminded him why he came here: peace, privacy, and a steady middle finger to anyone who thinks paperwork rewrites reality. And now as the story folds itself into dusk, let the pulse slow and the sound soften. Imagine that creek again, water tumbling gently over stone, as if it has carried every argument and every raised voice downstream, leaving only ripples and calm. The posts stand solid tall in the earth, and the dogs stretch out in the grass, their breathing steady, anchoring the silence. He doesn't think of Karen anymore, not really. She was a storm that passed loud in its fury, but storms always pass. What lingers instead is the steady rhythm of wind in branches, a place where no committee decides what shade the leaves should be. No clipboard scribbles on the sound of birds at dawn. The land feels older now, wiser, as if it waited years for him to return and remind it that boundaries are not suggestions, they are promises. There is a strange comfort in remembering that paper fades, maps get redrawn, but the earth beneath keeps its shape. Even courts and verdicts become background hum, because the real verdict is, here peace reclaimed privacy, secured the steady glow of dusk through trees. Perhaps historians will argue endlessly about whether justice comes swift or slow, whether it wears robes or grows in silence like moss. But for him it arrives with the evening light, calm and unhurried. So rest with that thought tonight, that storms end, that land remembers. And that sometimes in the quiet after chaos, the truest justice is simply the sound of a creek running free. Let it carry you gently toward sleep, with no trespassers at the edge of your dreams, only the steady reassurance that peace once reclaimed does not easily slip away.